All right, we're live on Facebook. How you guys doing?
Hello,
Good evening.
everyone. Welcome.
Greg, Rich.
You there?
Long day. Here we are talking about long week. It's true, we're later in the week now with our Lenten schedule. But thank everybody for tuning in tonight, whether it's live or on demand. We appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, should we touch on what we're talking about tonight?
I think let's do what we can to make sure that we can go live, to share and do all the things that we need to. I know tonight's episode we've been talking about for the past week or so steadily, but for the past few months we've been talking about the POW situation, and it's just so heartbreaking and so tragic. We can say what we want about the Armenian political situation, which we'll get to in a moment. But at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings, and we're talking about their lives, and we're talking about their families' lives. And a lot of these people need resolution. And I know most of us who are in the diaspora, that we need resolution as well. And David, you'll be able to shed some light on the moving parts and the components of what not necessarily what qualifies as a POW, but why the numbers are the way they are and why we can't figure out some things. And I'm looking forward to that part of the discussion. But I think the first thing we need to talk about is, we have Maher al-Najarian, who has been returned to Lebanon, if I'm correct. Is it to Beirut? Am I right?
Correct. She was returned.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
The morning, Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. local time in Beirut. Yeah, they're 10 hours ahead, I believe. So,
and for those of you who don't know what this is about,
so,
there was and Greg, you might be able to shed a little bit more light on this, but there was, correct me if I'm wrong, she was a civilian who moved to Artsakh just within days or weeks or, just prior to the war, and then was captured, and after a few months has now been returned to her family. Right?
Yeah. I'll apologize, and gentlemen, if you see me lag, is because I'm a little bit in a different location today. Let me know, and I will readjust. My Wi-Fi is a little spotty. So yeah, Maher al-Najarian moved to Armenia, as a matter of fact, after the Lebanon blast. Okay. So she moved to Artsakh because Artsakh is a freely Armenian, used to be an Armenian area, partially is now. She was then also captured in the last day of the war. Okay, as well as she was not only captured, she was captured as a civilian, which is correct. It's wrong upon wrong upon wrong. We famously remember Aliyev saying that he is treating Armenian civilians captured in the war as terrorists. Okay, yep. So under those pretenses, our brothers and sisters are being captured and kept in Azerbaijan against their will and against all sorts of Geneva Conventions and all sorts of international treaties. Okay. Yesterday, she was given back to her folks, her family in Lebanon. We're going to find out what the details are, but we are happy that is a resolution. We know for a fact there are more. She just happens to be one of those kind of prominent faces of that incident. So she is in Lebanon. Another part of me is curious why she was sent to Lebanon and not to Yerevan. Maybe the conversation there is a little bit like Aliyev is not on speaking terms with Yerevan, although I don't believe that is the case. Maybe she decided she wants to go back to Lebanon because the entire experience of moving to her motherland was obviously and clearly insanity,
Yeah.
For now she's back. And we're happy that she is back, and we will hear her story in the days to come. I know people want to hear more from her, but I feel like right now, like this is, you gotta let the victim, take a breather. The few little tidbits that we hear is just, it's just the beginning. At some point, we'll see like a full-on conversation, and she can explain her situation.
Right.
Yeah, the press was there to greet her right when she got there, but yeah, Greg, we'll find out more and more as time goes on. But it was mid-September She went to Stepanakert, and she ended up being captured. It's important for people to realize that these POWs, while many are soldiers, there are many that are civilians, like we've said, that are women and elderly. Okay, there's hundreds of these prisoners of war. They know that there are hundreds. There's an estimate that it's multiple hundreds. I've seen anywhere from 100 to 260 in this Osprey's article, to it could be even more. And they're trying to get that accurate accounting of it from Azerbaijan, but of course they're not providing it. So yeah.
Right. So first of all, first thing you acknowledge is I think it's a miracle that this woman was returned, that she came back. I can only imagine the kind of help and therapy that she's going to need. I can't imagine being a prisoner of war. I can't imagine being a prisoner of war held by someone or a group of people like the Azeris or the Turks. It's difficult for me to fathom, and it's even more terrifying for me to consider what that must have been like for a woman. And
Yeah.
it is shameful and just heartbreaking to even consider how just the depth of the depravity that these people may have experienced. And it's aggravating because I think I can't speak for anybody but myself, but I just think that we're so many of us are working towards a world where we treat each other with a little bit more respect and a little bit more understanding and honesty, and that this kind of stuff is happening right now, especially under the guise of this incursion and during a pandemic. It's nauseating. And Greg, you were mentioning earlier, and we'll get to this towards the end, about the just sustained amount of injustices that we as a collective group of people are continually subjected to. And it is frustrating. I mean, I think most Americans who are tired of wearing masks, they're tired of not being able to hang out with their friends, they're tired of not being able to go out and socialize the way that they would prefer to. But as an Armenian, I'm not only tired of that, but I'm tired of having to be strong and report on these things. These things are just and sadly we're probably going to have more coming up soon. And it's challenging. That's the easiest way I can put it. It's challenging. I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, there really are no words for what we've been witnessing since September 27. Greg, you were sharing some thoughts on this, I believe.
Yeah, I'm gonna predicate this by saying, can you hear me? Because my signal is choppy. Can you hear me, guys?
It's okay.
Yeah,
I can hear you very well. I can't see you, but it's okay. And just flag me as soon as I cut off. Okay, just or you can use the chat. Yes, I believe that this is a insurmountable and immense wake-up call to the entire Armenian nation. Azeri and Turk neighbors do not care about our existence. They clearly show it to us. They're showing it to us over and over and over again. And yet we feel we have the luxury to talk about liberalism, democracy, all sorts of isms. And you guys know me. You know how deeply connected to social justice movements I am, right? Currently we need to survive. And I just really, really want my brothers and sisters in the diaspora to understand that that's the number one issue. I'm talking about to everybody that is currently still supporting a guy that has clearly given up on our community. That is the prime minister. I am beyond exhausted stating that, and I try not to be negative. Look, guys, look at what's happening. Do you know who helped negotiate the release of Maral Najarian? It wasn't Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, nor his wife Anna Hakopyan. No, it was with the aid of Russians. The Russians that he still poo-poos on. Right. I don't understand how to explain this any better. But we can move on, okay?
Well, I mean, the Russians peacekeepers and the ICRC have been tasked with that. I mean, look, Maral, she in a lot of ways she became the face of the POW situation, right? She moved there looking for a better life, a more opportunity in Artsakh, beautiful Artsakh, gets captured from the road with other civilians, and after 4 months she's finally released. It's a very positive thing. Perhaps we could show an image of her, Rich. I don't know if we have the article up. If not, it's okay. But look, more needs to be done to get these prisoners of war out. What's happening is Azerbaijan is using these POWs as pawns to try to push, or you can't even use the word negotiate, there's Maral right there, returning home with their family and friends, right? So they're using the POWs to try to get more out of Armenia. And Greg, we're going to touch on that, right? There's a province called Syunik province in southern part of Armenia that is now completely bordered by Azerbaijan, which is directly under threat every single day, Russian peacekeepers or not. And we're going to get to that. Thank you, Rich. And look, it's a positive thing. She is home. Thank God. The more than 100 more need to be home immediately. By the way, guys, we haven't really talked about it, but I've heard it from leadership in Artsakh and Armenia and the US. The Armenia has returned all prisoners of war. They have returned them all. Okay. Armenia has done their part. It is time. It's been long past time for Azerbaijan to return the prisoners of war immediately. And it needs to happen. Thankfully, there's a resolution that's being circulated, has not been introduced formally yet. Congressman Adam Schiff has started it. It is calling for the immediate release of all prisoners of war by Azerbaijan. And we hope that that's going, when it is introduced, we're going to talk about it, obviously. We're going to hope that all of us call our representatives to make sure that gets a very large sum of signatories and co-sponsors and so on, because we need to make the statement that this is not going to be acceptable. And the Congress knows that on our behalf, they need to push the Biden administration to do more as well.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I would say about that, and I don't want to be the bearer of sour news, but what's funny is that if there were American troops involved, Biden would send a barrage of missiles at them immediately. But since they're not, it's going to be a debate. It's going to be talking points. It's going to be how many votes do we have, and it's going to be this big. If I wouldn't even say it's going to be a big discussion. That's the problem,
Right.
And on top of that,
if I can
and on top of that, in just a second, on top of that, Azerbaijan gets a lot of leeway because they have oil and they have powerful people that they're friends with, and it's troubling. It's go ahead, Greg.
No, I was going to say that the other thing is I completely agree with everyone. And, for those of you in the audience listening, thank you. Trying to make sense of all this, understanding why Azerbaijan is using the POWs as a political, chess piece. Well, I'll explain this. If you dissect the entire POW catastrophe upon other catastrophes that we're going through, you would notice that me and you and David are doing more than Yerevan is, meaning Pashinyan administration. ANC and the Armenian Assembly are doing more. The Russian peacekeepers are doing more. And in reality, what all Baku needs to understand is that Yerevan is not exactly screaming bloody murder about our brothers and sisters being in captivity. And that's all you really need to know about this entire situation. Now, someone's going to jump out at me as usual, like, yes, somebody, an ombudsman of this and ombudsman of that, stated something where Armenia. No, you need to scream to the powers that be, whatever they are, however anti-Armenian they are. Doesn't matter. Your entire foreign diplomatic corps needs to be on this day in and day out. And right now, Pashinyan only cares about his opposition, this and that, firing the army, and all these things. This is why we are here. I want people to understand the larger picture.
Sure.
Okay. I hope everybody.
No,
heard
I
that
think we can hear. I think your video is being de-optimized, so your audio and all that.
Yeah, we can hear and
It's
see you.
okay.
We can hear and see you, Greg. At least
It's
I
okay.
can.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
I'll just say, look, Greg, you're right. More needs to be done. The foreign ministry, they every day I'm seeing on Twitter or post here, post there. So and so spoke with so and so about the prisoners of war situation. They spoke with. But is that going to result in the action of them returning home? It does not appear to be. And like we're seeing 4 at a time, 1 at a time with Moral. All 100 to 700, whatever it is, need to be released immediately.
So let's stop for a second. I want to level set for a moment here. I know that we have had discussions, and I know I've been critical. Like, how do you lose all these people? Like, how do you not know what the story is? David, you have been fortunate enough to and willing enough and had enough time to participate in some panels recently in which some very high level people on multiple sides of continents have been sharing information. Some of this, I believe, if you can clarify, has been spawned by the Armenian Assembly panels and the meetings with Congress people. So can you help us unpack a little bit of how the numbers get, not like I said, not necessarily
Yeah. Like,
you know what I'm saying? Why the numbers are the way they are, and what some of the moving parts are? Because I think it's difficult for most people to understand. Well, how is there a discrepancy between 100 and 700? Like, how do you figure that out? Like, why is there such a wide gap? Maybe you can help shed some light on.
Yeah, great question, Rich. And yes, this whole week has been the Armenian Assembly of America virtual advocacy conference. It's been exceptional. We'll, perhaps in future episodes, we'll go into more depth and detail on what was covered. But yes, Foreign Minister of Artsakh, David Babayan, was on there speaking. The Deputy Foreign Minister, Armenian Alexandria, was speaking. Robert Avedisian, who we hosted in our first town hall back, several months back. I think it was in November, right after the agreement. They all spoke, as well as congressional leaders here in this country that are supporters of our cause and champions of our cause. And they're all gravely concerned about the POWs. They all, like you said, Greg, they're all saying that, look, this is a absolute violation of international humanitarian law. Okay. And look, in terms of how to define who's a POW, they have an idea. They may even know exactly how many soldiers are missing because they know who's back, right? The problem about how many are missing, they don't know yet how many are martyred or fallen soldiers. There's still recovering bodies, and that's sad, this very, very sad, tragic, awful thing. And we talked about a week or two ago, Azerbaijan has withheld Armenia from being able to do that. The ICRC, the International Committee for the Red Cross, from even the soldiers, the Russian peacekeepers, from being able to go and complete that job and work on that horrible, horrendous thing to collect the fallen soldiers so that they can let the family know, hey, your son is not missing. They perished. They were a martyr, right? And I'm sorry, I'm long-winded here, but trying to determine that who was martyred, who might still be missing or lost. We reported on those 6 soldiers, right, that actually were alive, survived in the forest, and were found and were able to return home. It was amazing, right? The longer and longer, and they talk about this the further we go out in time, the less likely that is to be the case, right?
Absolutely.
And then actually processing the data that they do have, video footage. The Azeris, they're pretty stupid, right? There's video footages. We know horrendous things, beheadings, mutilations of bodies, torture, executions, all being recorded and put on Telegram, on Instagram, on various different social media places. So they're able to try to piece all that together to try to identify those people. Another one is soldiers that are back that are identifying their friend in that video. All these things are part of the process. So it's hard for them to know an exact count, but we already know one is too many, right? But they're estimating more than 100, more than 200, perhaps, maybe even 600, 700, which is just absolutely unacceptable. The whole thing is absolutely awful, and it must stop. So if this resolution in the US could put any pressure on Azerbaijan, just let them know, hey, we're watching. It's not going to necessarily impact policy, but I will say, and then I'll end my long-winded speech here. Pallone, Congressman Frank Pallone, Congresswoman Jackie Spear, co-chairs of the Armenian Caucus, they, especially Frank Pallone, they were more optimistic that this current administration is much more clear-eyed on what's going on, and that they will crack down on things more. Although if we're comparing it to the last administration, the bar is not very high, right? So anyway, guys, I rest my case.
Yeah, I think, again, for me, my perception is that the part of the trouble with the Armenian position, and Greg, maybe you can, help bolster this a little bit, or, keep me honest. But part of my frustration, ongoing frustration with the Armenian position and the Armenian situation is that we just aren't prioritized. And it doesn't matter how many of us are martyred. It doesn't matter how righteous our cause is. It doesn't matter how many positive contributions we've made to this country or this state or our respective cities. It doesn't matter how good our people behave. The one person that does something wrong, or we just get hammered, and we don't have the same kind of footing that Azeri oil has, and it is.
Yeah, no, Rich, that was spot on with one of the main issues that was addressed also in one of the panels, that the geopolitical situation Armenia finds itself in is extremely difficult, right? Like you said, we're not a priority. We have nothing, no real material, any good to offer, and
yeah, we only have the holy land of the religion that so many of these people
right,
like claim that they support, and it's just
technology,
I'm sorry,
brain
but it's
power.
Just bullshit. It's just not.
Yeah.
I have so many expletives I need to get out, and it's going to have to be after when we're not live anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's because I'll tell you what it is. Again, when I was a kid growing up watching my grandmother, who was a genocide survivor, many of us grew up with the idea that if the world just knew about it, of course they would want to prevent it. But that's not true. We're not seeing it. The evidence is clear. And what do they do? They go,
yes,
oh, well,
yes, Richard.
What?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm adding to your case is that more and more as time goes on, I will also, and David and I have done a lot of outreach in terms of what is it called? Not recognition, but acknowledgement, education. True, a lot of people don't know, but a lot of very, very smart people I've noticed know. A lot of people that should know already know. And it's now a matter of you turning the page to make sure that this sinful world of ours, that next level is achieved.
Well, the thing about it, Greg,
making
is that,
sure. Yeah.
The thing about it that really comes up for me is that it is so easy for people in Paris or in Berlin or in Switzerland or anywhere else from a position where they're not threatened. It's very easy for them to wonder why some kid or some group of young men are suddenly radicalized. Like they have no idea why Palestinians would strap bombs to their chests and walk into a market. Well, when you've gotten your ass kicked for decades and your parents have gotten everything taken from them and their grandparents have gotten everything taken from them, at some point you get to the point where you're like, I've had enough. And I think the Armenians for more than a century have been saying, hey, we need a little bit of help. We've contributed vastly to the betterment of this entire world. And many of us are really tired of getting kicked around. And so I totally understand radicalization now. I totally understand it. And, you know, the fact that there aren't Armenians, you know, infiltrating Azerbaijan and Turkey and blowing up squares is a miracle as far as I'm concerned. It's amazing to me. It's a testament to the quality of our people, regardless of what happens with us. And
I'd like to think that's
I agree.
rooted in our faith. I'd like to think that. Maybe I'm a little bit too idealistic, but you know, and we're resilient people. That's another thing that came up in every one of these panels.
Gentlemen, I agree. Yeah,
We're resilient people.
I agree with, yeah, sorry, David, go ahead.
No, we are resilient people, and we will continue to be resilient people. So that's not to belittle any of this. It's just we will come out of this, but we have to be on guard, Greg. Yeah.
all right. So
Greg, you're
I mean, I guess we can, yeah. Richard, you were going to mention that you're going to push the show forward.
should we pivot
yes,
into?
thank you for being, you know, interested in trying to educate yourself on what exactly are we talking about and what are these items that we're talking about. It's essentially the current affairs of Armenia and of Armenian nation, and essentially level setting the entire diaspora and the Armenian nation as a global nation as a whole to understand what is the priority of today, what is the gravest danger of today, and what is the priority. You know, Richard, back to you.
well, I just, you know, first thing I'd like to say is, you know, I apologize for my energy level tonight. It's just been, you know, this is, you know, since September, the three of us have been kind of going at 11, the whole, you know, and with intermixed with moments of reprieve. But, you know, there's so much on the horizon, and there's so much, you know, we've talked about this a lot in the past handful of episodes, where there's so many people in the diaspora that sort of act like we have options and act like we've got unlimited time and act like, you know, like the dating pool of our lives is so enormous. And the reality is that we just don't have these kinds of luxuries. We don't have the kinds of luxuries that people think, especially when there are wolves at the gate, literally gray wolves at the gate. And you know, and it's troubling. And I think, Greg, you know, the three of us were talking a little bit about this earlier. Obviously, there's a few more points for us to get to before we sort of have you know, the final hurrah for today's episode. But you know, this whole episode it was built around the POW situation, and I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the reasons that we have POWs in the first place, which is this BS war that got thrust onto us for fabricated, manufactured reasons. And the troubling part is that the world community is content to just scratch their head and say, boy, if that happened, it probably shouldn't have. What are we going to do about it? And they're not even asking that. And the only people that are the Russians, and you know, and the government is poo-pooing the Russians, which is just ridiculous to me. So I'm at my wit's end to some degree. I'm frustrated, and I mean, I have a lot left in the tank, but I'm going to need to idle for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'll actually say this right now, and I'll go on record. If there is an Armenia-loving Armenian out there that doesn't see their necessity to completely about face and pivot their opinion on what Russia is in the geopolitical global sustainability and moving forward of the Armenian nation, well, you either call me directly and I can explain that to you, regardless of your opinion of Russia. Or you can just, you know, float off into assimilation and stop being Armenian. I am being that direct. I'm sorry, guys. Because for us to keep sitting in the land of, what do you call it? Privilege, safety here. I'm in Tahoe right now, okay? Assuming that we can continue exerting our opinion of, well, Russia is a bad character to the world. Well, no, Russia is the only thing right now precluding Azeris rolling tanks into Yerevan at this time. And by the way, there's still 100,000 Artsakhs living in Artsakh that Russia is protecting. So you, if you have any chance and any respect for your ancestors or your Armenian nationality, will zip your mouth anytime you want to talk bad about Russia. This is really, and you guys know how pointed I can be about Russia. Okay,
Yeah.
but
Russia's
right
the,
now we don't live in that world anymore.
Russia is the sole guarantor of Artsakh security. The Armenian people.
Right.
So people need to understand that. People need to understand that.
There is, I want to make mention of a few topics. For those of you who are paying attention to Armenian related news, obviously the big issue is the political turmoil that's going on in Armenia itself, with the firing of the general, and with just the back and forth that's been happening is maddening. And we could probably do an entire episode on that. There's a lot of information out there. David and Greg have done a great job of putting a lot of content together. And I'll post that on the thread here. And also, quick shout out to John Kevranian for supplying a lot of great links as well. We sadly don't have enough time to go through all of them, but we want to thank you for your continued participation and involvement. Tonight's episode is in fact we're trying to raise money for the Armenian Wounded Heroes Fund. We've been doing that a lot. And we hope you will, whether it's live right now or when this is rebroadcast and you're watching it, which we hope you will, please consider donating, because these young men and women absolutely need your help. And if there was one Armenian organization right now to donate to, I would say it should be Armenian Wounded Heroes. Beyond that, I would probably do AGBU. And there are a couple others that we can send you links to as well.
Absolutely. They're all on our link tree as well, right, Rich? And thanks to everybody, all of our supporters and viewers over the last, 5 months now. We've raised over $2,600 for Armenian Wounded Heroes. So that's thanks to everybody out there. We appreciate your support for that nonprofit tonight.
There's also
No. It's a 3 months.
Okay.
Well, no, we've been fundraising since November 1.
Since November. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, all right. Richard, you were saying.
I'll have a bunch of links up on the political issue, but Greg, the bigger point is the direct threat to Armenia itself and to Sunni. So can you help explain a little bit of that?
Yeah, currently, is in this capitulation on November 9th was the idea of the connection of the transportation link between Nakhichevan and Azerbaijan via the sovereign state of Armenia, free of customs. Okay, that's not enough. Aliyev is now currently kind of dog whistling to the world as if Sunik is their territory. Okay, and as such, he's starting to stake claims to him, then making sure he can claim that area, right? And succinctly enough, just as Greek City Times reported on the imminence of the Artsakh war a week before that, stating like, hey, we're noticing there's a lot of movement between Syria, Idlib province, and all these mercenaries. Remember that? By the way, the United Nations nor any of the Western watchdogs have given a slightest damn about that egregious thing that a NATO ally like Turkey did, which bring foreign mercenaries, destabilizing our region. Doesn't matter. That same Greek City Times is putting out an article yesterday, I believe, that stating that it seems to be that Azerbaijan is gearing towards an assault on the southern region of Sunik. We also then saw that Arach Media today published that Azerbaijan is staging a 10,000-man war games or training session with 100 armored vehicles in that region yet again. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, while Yerevan is playing political games of who can, who cannot, there are serious things that are being prepared, and I have a feeling the war is not going to be in 5 years. I'm sorry. And that's what I mean by the gaslighting. I feel that the diaspora and the Armenian world in Yerevan in particular is fully engulfed in things that do not matter currently, do not matter,
Right.
because we got a country that we're about to lose.
Right. Everybody's fighting.
So, yeah.
Take over, right, Greg? But then literally Armenia is being threatened. There's a couple things in this Greek City article that I think can be verified, right, Greg? So one, the Greek City article, and I think we'll spend some time talking about this and what it could mean and why people need to care, right, guys? Probably the rest of the time tonight, perhaps. But
yeah.
there's a Telegram channel that I happen to tune into, the Telegram app. It's Russian, and it's information about military and things that are happening over there. It confirmed that there was a Turkish, basically spy plane on the western border of Armenia, not that far from Yerevan. This Greek City article is mentioning that. It also mentions what unrest with the Ukraine, right? And so now here's the thing, Greg, maybe you could shed some light on this, and I don't mean to totally change topic. It's all related. The idea is, while Ukraine's trying to start some stuff with Russia, Azerbaijan, probably with the help of Turkey, right, is going to try and start some stuff with Armenia. Russia, under the CSTO,
yeah.
Right. So at the same time, could Russia handle that? Could they handle that? Do we know?
So a couple of things are happening here, and those of you still watching and those of you watching later understand this. Regardless of where we are ourselves in our journey in life, Armenia is somewhere else, and as Armenians, we need to be in tune and understand that we need to do whatever it takes for it to stay a country. Literally, do I sound apocalyptic? Because this is where we are. To your point, David, yes. The world is slowly moving towards a clash between the West, whatever that is now, NATO being at the center of it, Turkey always being the most important component of NATO. Please, fellow brothers and sisters, drill that through your head. Everything else is just a political game, okay? Can we punish Turkey? Can we slap it on the wrist? Washington, D.C. will be closer to Ankara than Yerevan in the foreseeable 20 years. Can we please understand that? That being said, there seems to be an escalation of a clash between the West and Russia, for further other reasons I don't want to go into now, right? Ukraine and Armenia and the Caucasus are the two areas. They want Russia out of that Eastern European realm, and they want Russia completely cleared out of the Caucasus, which our buddy Pashinyan almost handed to the West. Russia literally came in, right, to stop that from happening, and are currently still doing that. Okay.
Exactly.
So where we as diasporans want to sit on that straddle that spectrum, well, that's your moral conversation with yourself. Okay. I know where I am. Okay. I am with the Armenian nation. So if I need to advocate for Russia's well-being, that means I need to start doing that as of today.
You know what?
Okay,
I'm
sorry.
Agree more.
And if it,
and
if it doesn't sit well with anybody,
Go ahead, finish your sentence.
Sorry. Yeah. And if it doesn't sit well with anybody, well, then you need to reassess what kind of an Armenian you are, because I know clearly what Russia is in the world. I know clearly what the United States is in the world, which, by the way, is a bad actor to a lot of communities out there as well. We're not that, the shining city on the hill, as we like to keep saying to ourselves, right? And right now, I'm at a cross point in my life, and the diaspora needs to come to that question as well. And I hope they do, and I hope every one of you does. Richard, I'm sorry.
People need to care more. Look, we're doing everything we can, and we're grateful for all the people that have supported us. Just so you guys know, I've shared this with you before. A lot of times when I am out in the community with a mask on, right, people are thankful for this program, and we're grateful and thankful for everybody that's watching. There's some things that are very, very striking and concerning that are addressed in this article. Now, look, this could be conjecture. This could be hearsay, could be rumors, but like you said at the top, right, Greg? Greek City Times called everything that happened before, right? Right before the war last time, didn't they call it? Here's the thing. Some of what could be bringing on
David, they didn't call it. They didn't call it. They did investigative journalism. And in May of 2020, the generals at CSTO said that, hey, we're hearing through the grapevine through our NATO infiltrating channels that
Right.
certain things are being gathered and certain things are going to happen. So I'm
Right.
assuming Greek City Times tapped into the same channel
Could
of
be.
information. It's just
Could
that
be.
Pashinyan just doesn't want to listen to it or care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know what, Greg, you just brought something up, guys, and this is infuriating as Americans. Okay, we are Americans. We are Armenian Americans, right? We talked about it earlier, maybe during the war, maybe right after the war, but it's come up again recently. The U.S. knew aggression was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because, what, wasn't it 3 days, I believe, before? The State Department put out the warning, do not travel to eastern border
Yes.
of Armenia, do not travel to Artsakh.
Yes.
I wonder why. Look,
Yes.
so
Well,
yes,
I mean, the addendum to that, David, is that, you know, it's not like they didn't. It's not like there's an upper echelon of people that don't know what kinds of arms sales are going on.
right,
They have
Right.
they have conventions that talk about who's buying arms.
right.
So it is nothing new at all. I mean, what's infuriating to me is that America will like to beat its chest and have this proactive, like, you know, doctrine about preemptive strikes against, you know, Afghanistan and Iraq because, you know, because they think that something's going to happen to the
Right.
mainland here, or they pegged it on some, you know, but in actuality, when it comes to saving people and an actual humanitarian issue, big deal. So what?
Right.
Yeah, and
That's
I
their
could
problem.
add, I could also add to that we're speaking in ideals and theories from past experiences, right, with Middle East and all. I'll tell you what I know for a fact: that Turkey is much closer to DC than Yerevan will ever be, right? And in this geopolitical game, for Washington D.C., Armenia is nothing but a speck on the map.
Well, that's
If
absolutely
it needs
correct.
to move it aside, if it needs to move it aside to get to Russia, trust me, tomorrow Armenia will not exist. Okay, if that needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay?
And that's
So like,
that's
yeah, so
evidenced by
we need to
by
really
Erdogan.
sober up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, what were you gonna say, Rich? We need to realize
Well,
something.
Greg, you're absolutely right, because the evidence is clear. Erdogan was in Washington, D.C. He told his guys to go beat the snot out of a bunch of Armenian and Greek and these protesters, and they did. Then they left the country with immunity, and nothing happened.
Right.
So of course. So I guess my question would be, when did America become such bootlickers? When did we become it?
Rich, you're absolutely right. The
When
US
special interest infiltrated it completely.
50
Right.
nukes. We have 50 nukes on the, I think it was Idlib, the Idlib base in Turkey. Incirlik, excuse me.
Incirlik, yeah.
Idlib is in Syria, my bad. Or Libya, or wherever. I think it's in Africa.
No.
Yeah.
It's Syria. It's in Syria. Idlib
yes.
is in Syria. Yeah.
The Incirlik, excuse me. Correction. Incirlik. We have 50 nukes there, right? And Turkey holds those hostage. Turkey bought equipment, artillery from Russia. Turkey supported with Syrian mercenaries and their actual special forces and military supported this entire aggression. They are not a NATO ally. They are not a NATO ally. They need to be removed from NATO. That's a whole nother thing. Guys, some of the war rhetoric coming from Aliyev, the president of Azerbaijan. Listen, Armenia wants to obstruct the implementation of the Zangezur corridor. That's Sunni, right, Greg? But they will not succeed. We will force them. We will force them. What does that mean? While Turkey is sending...
That means our troops will come in.
Exactly. And so he's saying this. He's making these comments on record, okay? While Turkey is sending this aircraft, I'm trying to find the name of it. I'll find it in a second. And yeah, I mean, look, it's all building up, right? So this is very concerning. How close are we to war? I don't know. The war just happened, right? It feels that way, right? But obviously to them, it's been too much. It's been too long before there was conflict, or not conflict, before there was aggression. They still have POWs from the first war.
Look. I have to. Yeah. I just want to kind of again. I don't want to keep beating the old drum. Give me one sec. I don't think that the war ended. I think the war was paused. Okay, and it's going to re-erupt anytime Aliyev wants to say or do as he pleases. Clearly, there's also some analysts have also clearly stated that, as a matter of fact, maybe Aliyev will not be invading Armenia, although I don't think so. I think he wants to. What he's trying to do, and this is wrap your mind around this, he's trying to dog whistle to the Armenian opposition, saying like, hey, if you remove our boy Pashinyan, we will threaten an invasion. Now think on that. How crazy is that? At this point in time, Pashinyan, and it's been stated by the leader of the Grey Wolves, by Erdogan, and by Baku, that they favor Pashinyan to stay. So if any Armenian still is questioning Pashinyan's, legitimacy to stay in power, you need to, look no further. You got three most egregious individuals who want Armenians dead globally, saying Pashinyan should stay. Now, I don't care what you talk about your democracy, your neoliberal views, your open borders, educational reform, yada, 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 yada. Three people closest to the annihilation of the Armenian nation say Pashinyan should stay. I'm pretty sure David, Richard, and Greg got the message. Pashinyan needs to go. Okay?
Yeah, he does.
He does. It can't be simpler than that, guys. It can't be simpler.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm not going to defend the guy. I'm not going to defend the government. I will, obviously I'll concede that I'm not there. I don't know the ins and outs the way they do. I can't imagine being in the position that they're in. But again, it goes back to where there's smoke, there's probably fire. And so everything that we've seen suggests that he should go.
Right.
At least that I've seen. I can't speak for anybody else. I know there are some people that I care about and respect that genuinely feel he's doing the right thing and that he has our best interest in mind, but I don't see that playing out.
It's not.
I just don't see it playing out. I don't understand. So
guys,
maybe those folks who are still pro Pashinyan, who are still watching us, maybe you can help educate me as from a reasonable perspective.
Right.
But I just don't understand, and I would like to.
Yeah, the guy that's in charge when the nation has a capitulation and loses a war should not be the same person that is rebuilding the nation. Guys, very scary things in this article. Since we're talking about it, I'm going to rattle through them, okay?
Please.
It was a Turkish Boeing 737 early warning and control aircraft was circling near the border with Armenia. It's the same plane that was codenamed. We'll put this link up. It's already up there. It had a code name. It was used during the opening days of last year's war. Same plane used during last year's war. Okay. There's also reports that Azerbaijan is calling up reservists, while at the same time, the Turkish and Azerbaijani military have conducted joint exercises near the Armenian border in Gars, like we talked about, right, guys? We talked about that weeks ago. Also, this comes after the suggestion that Azerbaijan is preparing for a new war comes at a time when it appears that Ukraine is preparing for a spring offensive against militias in Donbass. So,
which is eastern Ukraine.
Right. There's a possibility Azerbaijan and Ukraine, both are close allies of Turkey, could launch simultaneous operations to force Russia to make concessions on behalf of Donbass militia and Armenia. There you go. This is extremely concerning. I'm really wondering why we're not seeing more talk about this. Why is Greek City Times the only one coming up with this?
Yeah. If I can add to that. So first of all, we've already done the entire.
Because no one cares about.
Thank you, Richard. But also, no one cares. Actively, no one cares. Everybody knows. Why do we know that? Remember when the Pashinyan move was about to come against the army? How many? The Guardian, New York Times, everybody and their mother all of a sudden put out statements. These all news outlets that slept on the murder and beheadings of our brothers and sisters all of a sudden put out, oh my God, there's a coup moving in the Caucasus, blah blah blah. So everybody knows. Okay?
Exactly.
The care is just not there. Number one. Number one. Number two, again, I'm going to go back to something that we were talking before we started the episode. And again, I don't like to be the killjoy, but I have to put the mirror against ourselves, to my diasporan brothers and sisters. There's this new app called Clubhouse, right? We've all heard of it. I'm actively on it for various reasons. I enjoy it. I find a way to do it. I know that I sent both of you a link. I think Richard, at least you, and y'all have dabbled with it, but you don't know which way to go. It's an interesting microcosm of this new social media platform that's emerging. On there are chat rooms, essentially. Let's call them that. And the Armenian chat room is a big one. There's a lot of Armenians talking a lot of things. And actually, a friend of ours, a friend of the show, sends me a screenshot saying, like, hey, man, if this is a representation of what's going on in the diaspora, we've already lost. Because at the time when we're about to lose Sunik, he screenshot what he just saw his notifications, because he's also like, and this is a guy the three of us know, rhymes with Shmara. What's up, dude? and he wrote this. He goes, dude, check this out. These are the rooms that are currently discussing Armenian affairs. There's one room that says Armenia in Crisis, and there's about roughly 40 people in there. Simultaneously, there's a room called Armenian Film Society, Q&A with blah, blah, blah. Then there's also Kyanka Yerasunits Heto, is Life After 31 and Dating. There's another room that's talking about Armenians networking with Armenians. There's a room about Armenians and Bitcoin. There's a room about Armenians and the herbal medicine. And there's a room about let's just shoot the shit. There's an Armenian room called Karaoke Night. And then there's all sorts of other nonsense, okay? Again, I want to recenter. I don't want to be a killjoy. Yes, I think it's a fun platform and everybody needs to have its outlet. But if there was a little bit of a representation of what's going on, well, you need to show me no more. Clearly, the concentration is on Bitcoin network. And I guarantee you, if I see somebody in that chat room and they heard this on Arach Media, they'll try to check me like, hey, man, don't you know I also care about that? No, clearly on the outset, visibly, we don't show that. Okay, because there's only one room that's talking about the crisis in Armenia. And by the way, that room was trying to cover everything. It's not even like very pointed at one crisis, which I think is the most craziest one, is the madmen in the parliament and the loss of Sunik and maybe the entirety of Armenia. Okay, those items are the most important.
Right.
That's why my blood is boiling, guys, and that's why I feel like, I don't know, I'm at a loss of word. And Richard, you tell me your thing. David, you tell me your thing. I get it. There are other things that are important in diaspora, but I'm going to argue. Today, they're not. Other days, yes. Today, there's not.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
That's my piece.
It's I think, I can't speak for anybody else. I know that in my day-to-day, the level of urgency I feel is different from other people.
Yes.
And for various reasons. So I don't, I can't begrudge anybody for wanting to unplug a little bit or do something different, but I'm with you, Greg. The strident lack of awareness, or if they are aware, they're just putting their head in the sand, like, and it is troubling, because the reality is that Armenia is only so big and it only has so many people, and our grandparents, at least my grandparents, sacrificed a lot to get me to a place where I can enjoy the kinds of freedoms that I have here in this country. And I do love this country, warts and all, but I am disappointed and I'm heartbroken, and I wish more in the diaspora were as fired up as the three of us are. And I can't put it any other way.
There was a vacuum, huge vacuum, after the November 9 horrible capitulation, the loss of the war. I'm not using that to justify or make excuses, but I think we've seen that people were involved all of a sudden or not, or there's just complete loss of momentum. Whatever momentum we had It's almost completely gone now. It's very sad to see that. So Greg, you're absolutely right in pointing out that people need to care more and need to do more. They need to find their way of doing that. I really do think, you guys may or may not agree, it's come up in some of the panels from the advocacy conference, education key. Education, sorry guys, education is key. Education key. People do not know. If they don't know anything about it. They don't know, they can't be an advocate about it because they don't know or understand, or they don't want to. Maybe that's
I would my pushback on that is the last thing that you said. They don't want to. And I think that, you know, if I reflect on my life as an educator, as a trainer, as someone whose mission it has been in other eras of my life to educate people and to train people on whether it be a sales philosophy or a process or an ideology or something, my job has been to go educate. And, you know, it's one thing to say people just don't know and education is important, but you can't plow fields that don't want to be plowed.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
you can't plant seeds in, you know, in soil that is devoid of any interest. It's just the way it is. And I'm not necessarily calling out everybody in the diaspora, but, you know, there are certainly those among us, and I'm probably not going to make a whole lot of friends by saying this, but I'm sorry, I don't care about your G-Wagon. I don't care about your S500. I don't care about those cars. And I don't care about your Armenian flags on them, because why don't you drive a Camry and help build a school instead? Why don't we do something like that? But, you know, no, it's okay. I'd rather have a Louis Vuitton bag and big lips than you know what I'm saying? And it gets frustrating after a while. And I think, you know, and I've had this conversation numerous times with people who have disparaged Kim Kardashian and her family and used the Kardashian name as a punching bag. And I've literally called people out in public saying, well, Kim raised over $1 million during the war. What'd you do? You know, and you can say whatever you want about that family. But, you know, my reality is that, you know, the woman put eyes on a cause that needed it. And without her, a lot of things would be different. So is she a savior? No, but I can completely understand how people would, you know, in our position, who are the descendants of genocide survivors. We either go into one of a couple territories. We either go into this, you know, I'm going to commit myself to the cause and to my community, or it's going to be, I'm going to pull as much out of this life as I can. And, you know, when you look at the strident lack of support that we're getting from the US government, why wouldn't we want to take as much as we can out of this country? Why wouldn't we want to use as much of the privilege that we have here to just, you know, take what we can? Because the U.S. government surely hasn't helped us. In fact, the U.S. government helped Azerbaijan exponentially in leading up to the war and pulled money away from us. So they were stacking the deck against us.
Yeah, we keep thinking as Armenians, and actually I want to kind of wrap this to this idea. I'll actually do a little bit of on a high note. We keep thinking that the more I contribute as a good citizen, somehow miraculously the powers that be in Washington, D.C. will go, look at that good Armenian. Let me help his poor little country. Completely oblivious to the fact that our country is actually, it's positioned antithetical to where America is going, together with its ally, Turkey. And we need to be really, really sober about that. And that's actually another Greek City Times. I'm wondering, why is this Greek City Times not the #1 most read news source by Armenians? Because there's another piece of article that Greek City Times wrote about. It says, despite the West abandoning Armenia, Pashinyan seems to be alienating Russia by being pro-Western. I mean, understand, the Greek City Times understands that more than Pashinyan, apparently. The silver lining is this, friends, and I'm going to leave you off with it. Azerbaijan is moving its troops, understanding that there is a possibility that Pashinyan will be ousted. And we know that that day will come. How it will come, we don't know, but we know that day will come. And they are, in fact, incredibly nervous about that happening, because once that happens, maybe chaos will ensue, but ultimately a strongman will come back to power, okay? And they are going to bring back a little bit of a semblance to the currently humiliated, internally, not externally, internally humiliated Armenian army, okay? And once that happens, that the Armenian army will then start kind of, pivoting to Russia, saying, all right, man, what do you need us to do in the Caucasus? And once that happens, once that binding happens, well, then guess what? Turkey is going to start, wagging its tail and running back to Washington, D.C., no longer as an aggressor, but more like the victim that we've seen them use.
We need Putin to build some bases, and we need him to start flying some sorties. And
well,
how much money do I need to offer?
Yeah, they are rich. They are rich. They added a base.
As a matter of fact, I apologize. As a matter of fact, in Syunik, there was that incident where Kafan Airport, half of it, Azeri said, well, now it's in our territory, so go fly a kite. And Russians, not Armenians, Russians came in and said, that airport is strategically important to us, ergo it's now becoming our strategic base. Guys in the diaspora, the diaspora, I can't explain to you time and time again, hesitantly, because Pashinyan, the Greek City Times reporting, keeps poo-pooing on Russia. But time and time again, Russia understands that it needs to sustain Armenia because the West is trying to push it out of the Caucasus. Why do we Armenians don't get that? I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. Right. But you know what? I will say this. This is my last parting shot. And I've said this to some degree before. I grew up in this country in the 70s and 80s. I grew up when Reagan came to power, and there was a big bunch of flag waving going on, and it was all pro-America. I remember when Born in the USA dropped, and all these trucks were driving around like they all suddenly got sprung. You know what I'm saying? And I'll tell you what, man, I grew up with this very pro-American, Russians are bad, evil empire. All the women are like, power lifters, and like, they can, Russia can, right? But I'll tell you what, right now, I am absolutely rooting for Team Putin. Like, I want Russia to, I have to.
That's it.
Russia is
the
safety and security of the Armenian people of Artsakh. Russia is the sole guarantor. People need to understand that. Okay.
And David, 100% agree with you. And to finish off with this, if anyone for a second thinks, and I don't know, this might be a little hard pill to swallow. We always talk about Israel and the pact between Israel and the United States. If one day the United States becomes no longer pro-Israeli or whatever, right, or becomes a weaker country, and all of a sudden, I don't know, India or China become like the policemen of the world, you will see how fast the Zionist army is going to drop America, jump to China, make it their their guarantor of peace and stability 100%. In the Middle East, and start being the #1 lobbyist and advocate for China. Why? Because Jews understand that they need to survive. Why Armenians think that survival is a luxury first, in a pecking order between democracy and other items. You know what I mean? Like things that I respect, right? I don't know why Armenians think that way.
No, I think we're coming to our senses.
I think we will come to our senses.
I think that right now, Armenians and the Armenian nation and the diaspora, I would say the diaspora more than the Armenian nation internally. But I think that the Armenian diaspora, with the examples that you laid out, on this one platform, it's a representative of many platforms, by the way. It's like the house is on fire, and the Armenian diaspora is still deciding on what carpets they should put in the house. Like, but the house is on fire, right? Put the fire out. We got a fire burning. Like, I don't care what furniture we have in the house right now. So, I think we're a few minutes behind over the line right now, so I'd like to start, talking about wrapping and what we're going to do in the future. I will say this for today and for today's show. I have my own apologies to make for letting this discussion sort of spiral around these things. But the reality is that when we talk about the POWs and the reasons that the POWs are there, and they haven't been returned, and all the things that set up POWs being prisoners of war in general, it brings up all sorts of emotional issues that I think are still unsolvable right now for many of us. And so, I wish we could just keep to a linear, let's just go down the list of all the things that we need to talk about. But the reality is that there's a lot going on, and it's not always easy to keep that in line.
Absolutely, Richard. I agree with you. And to wrap up, let's just bottom line the three things, right? We all here were pro-Pashinyan because we wanted to see a democratic election and a democratic Armenia moving forward. The West couldn't care less about it, and it's clearly evident right now. That's another hard pill to swallow. Lastly, now that Pashinyan's receipts are coming in, right? In the final days, what he has done far exceeds anything that Kocharan, Sarkisyan, or Terpetrosyan ever could have imagined to do or embezzle or possibly. Armenia Fund, obliterated. We can spend an entire episode on that, okay? We're talking about, we were always talking about how Serge Sarkisyan, allowed his cops to raise a hand on a woman. Well, guess what? There's snipers right now outside of the parliament building pointing live, active sniper munitions at the Armenian protesters within Armenia, okay? So he crossed that line as well. And on and on and on and on and on. He has lied. That was an accusation against Kocharan and Sarkisyan. So if not as bad as they were, he's completely crossed everything that they have done. They've embezzled 100,000. That was the case with Armenia Fund in 2018, right? Well, right now we for a fact know 11 million have disappeared, and 170 million most likely have been absorbed into the state budget, which, by the way, is probably going to render Armenia Fund's 501c3 status annulled in a few weeks to months to come here in the United States. Okay? So just on those principles alone, this man has done horrible by our nation.
Yeah, not to say enough about how embarrassing that is to talk about when many of us who live in this country are working hard to generate allyship, and then to see this kind of stuff is like, are you kidding me? It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
I was skeptical.
I don't know how anybody.
I was skeptical from day one. Greg, you remember that? I was like, who is this guy? But look,
I appreciate that.
Why don't we wrap up with that? We're going to keep bringing up the issue of POWs as we continue to learn more information, and we're going to keep giving everybody resources that they can take out. And then we're going to have to really follow this Greek City Times article and see and really follow this closely to see what happens. And hopefully there's not going to be a war waged in Armenia. Russia, a CSTO treaty is the guarantee of security to Armenia. So they would have to get involved. What would this look like? Hopefully it doesn't come to that, but we have to be on guard. And to your point, Greg, Armenians need to care more. Armenians all over the world need to care more and need to pay more attention to things as much as they can. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's right. So, okay. So everyone, just to remind everybody, we will be live on Facebook 9 p.m. on Thursdays for another couple weeks. Is that right?
Yep, 2 more weeks. Yeah.
2 more weeks.
2 more weeks.
Okay. And then moving forward, we're going to go back to Wednesdays after that. But also, stay tuned. We will have a link up in this feed here for the new YouTube channel that David has put together. And so moving forward, you'll have multiple different platforms to be able to witness these amazing and enlightening conversations with. So we're going to do our best to not only stay on track, but to keep everyone as informed as possible. We're going to do everything that we can to keep abreast with all the latest information. And we may not be breaking every piece of news, but we hope that, we can triangulate some of the causes and the root issues and dissect it in a way that is compelling enough for you to want to keep participating with us. None of this happens without you. And so we're just grateful for anybody to, to keep on being with us. So that's it. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, no,
I don't, yeah, sorry.
This episode, the Wednesday or Thursday night episode should be available on the YouTube the next day if people want to be able to listen again, or if YouTube works better for them. So
okay. And David, you're also building a library of our previous content. Is that correct?
Correct.
Or will be.
Correct. It's all going to be on there eventually. Yeah, it's going to take time.
And in the coming weeks and months, we're going to have some new methods of doing this, and a lot more stuff is coming down the pipe. I mean, no matter what the news is, I think we have a lot of content that we're willing to talk about, and we want to help, unpack for everybody. So thanks a lot for joining. And remember, moving for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be on Thursday nights. After that, we'll be back to Wednesdays.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Good night.